This is Heather Bross from the South Carolina Department of Education Personalized Learning Team. Welcome to a quick tour of how the South Carolina Teaching Standards 4.0 element, grouping students, connects to the Measuring PCBL toolkit. The purpose of this video is to provide a short introduction of how the Measuring PCBL toolkit outcomes can help measure growth in grouping students. If you haven't watched the welcome video in the header of the crosswalk document that explains our overall purpose, we suggest watching that before you continue. The Measuring PCBL toolkit focuses on 8 outcomes that we believe are distinctive of a high-quality PCBL system. Agency is the PCBL outcome we will focus on today. The toolkit was created to help make measuring PCBL impacts as accessible as possible for classroom teachers, school coaches and leaders, or anyone wanting to document the effects of PCBL practices for learners. Let's dig in and learn more about the connections between grouping students and measuring PCBL toolkit outcomes. If you want to measure your impact in grouping students, you could use belonging or agency as a measuring PCBL outcome. We know that in order to successfully group students, we need to be able to meet learners at their readiness level in any area or their zone of proximal development, the sweet spot of learning. In a PCBL environment, there should never be a moment where a learner is disengaged because they are being expected to work at a level that is either too hard or too easy. This is where flexible grouping comes in. Flexible grouping creates the space for learners to work where they are ready, then move on. This means members of a group can change. The length of time a group meets can change. When the group meets can change. Who teaches the group can even change. What is fixed about a flexible group is the purpose. Once the purpose, for example, the learning target or an inquiry or a shared interest has been fulfilled, then the group dissolves. Flexible grouping also offers space for learners with different strengths to continue to be able to share and interact with one another. Now let's consider how you could use agency to measure the impact of the 4.0 element of grouping students. First, let's level set. Why is agency so important? Agency refers to students having ownership in their learning process. Students not only having a voice and flexibility in how they learn, but also holding themselves to firm goals, being self-reflective and self-aware. We bet that students having a sense of agency in their learning community is a priority for you as an educator as we prepare our students for college and career. The indicators for the 4.0 rubric element grouping students and the PCBL outcome agency can work together to support teachers in collecting valuable data. For example, in the 4.0 rubric, teachers are expected to group students so that the instructional grouping arrangements are consistently maximizing student understanding and learning efficiency, where all students in groups know their roles, their responsibilities, and their group work expectations. All students are participating in groups, are held accountable for their group work and their individual work. Their instructional groups facilitate opportunities for students to set goals and reflect on and evaluate their learning. The agency data collection tool has survey questions that ask learners, I know what I'm learning, why I'm learning it, and I have flexibility in how I practice and how I show what I've learned. Using these survey questions to find out how students have a sense of agency can be used by teachers to inform and grow their student-centered flexible grouping practices in this area and build a culture and meaningful learning experiences for all. So let's click into the crosswalk and see how we might use this data collection tool in the Measuring PCBL toolkit if we've selected a goal off the 4.0 rubric element of grouping students. because I want to know how my students feel about agency during their Readers Workshop time. If I'm a third grade teacher and I'm offering Readers Workshop time, and I am grouping students and offering flexible grouping during this time, this model allows for both independent and collaborative work time for all my learners. But I really want to know if my students are connecting how they are using these opportunities within their workshop time to grow their reading skills. So I'm going to click on agency and see if there are some prompts and questions that I can use to create a survey. I notice that each prompt has a code, so I want to make sure that I select those that best fit my third grade students. I might select a prompt that I can use with the Likert scale. Like, sometimes my work is different from my classmates because I can choose the work that is most interesting to me. Or I can work without my teacher's help because I know what I need to do and how to complete it. I might also pick an open-ended question like, how do I get to decide what I get to learn today? Once I've decided on the prompts or the questions that I'd like to use, I could have students take a Google survey. After collecting the results from the survey, I can now begin to analyze the data by myself, with my coach, or with another colleague to see what I notice and wonder from my students sharing their sense of agency. If I needed to, I could also host some follow-up student panel interviews. After analyzing, I might find out that students might need more modeling on how to set meaningful goals, or how to give peer feedback, or how to better measure their growth. They may need SOPs developed on what it looks like to work with a partner or as a group. Or maybe we need to revisit past SOPs to remind us of what classroom procedures look like what do you do when you're stuck? Or what do you do when you're done with your work? And if my SLO was focused on the same 4.0 element, I could even use this as a pre and post data related to one of those competencies that I might be implementing in my class. Or I could use multiple tabs as a menu to pull from if it relates to the 4.0 element that I am trying to measure. If I'm a school leader or an instructional coach, I could also use this crosswalk to identify one or a few of the 4.0 elements as a focus for the year. I could then create a survey using those prompts and questions from the data collection tools, have my teachers give that survey and reflect as a whole school. Then using that data during some PLCs, our teachers could select their own growth goals around that whole school data. This is just one way that you could leverage the connection between the 4.0 element grouping students and the data collection tools measuring PCBL toolkit. Now it's your turn to think about which measuring PCBL toolkit outcome you want to focus on and explore the survey prompts and questions. We love to partner with educators, so please remember you can always reach out to us, your regional coach, by going to personalizedSC.ed.sc.gov/contact-us.